everyone. Welcome back to Pima Voices. Today, I'm exploring the world of philanthropy with Pima Foundation's Director of Philanthropy, Diana Cannon.
Good morning.
Good morning, Diana. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming by today.
My pleasure.
I appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
So, Diana, for those who don't know who you are and what your role is, can you go ahead and explain to us what is the Director of Philanthropy at Pima Foundation?
Well, my role is to bring awareness to the community about the products, the services that are offered at Pima Community College. The foundation's mission, of course, is kind of threefold, if you will. We have our role is to help support the students with programs, scholarships, resources that they may need. But it's also, we're here to help support staff and faculty, to help develop new programs and initiatives. So we help raise the money to help fund that as well. And I think that just to bring a general perspective to the community that we are your community college. We are here to serve the needs of the community, whether it be the students here, the faculty, the staff, whether it be businesses in our community that are looking for a future workforce. That's the role that we serve, is to bring that awareness so that if they're interested and they have a need or they have a passion, they can help support us.
Perfect. So that's a really great way to say it. And this is why I wanted you on here today, because you know this topic so well. And so
I've been around a little while.
So, yeah, I mean, coming to that, so you've been in the nonprofit world for around 30 years.
Yes.
So what drove
just yesterday.
Yeah, just yesterday. So what inspired you and drove you to even come into the world of nonprofit?
You know, I started my career in corporate America, and I spent many, many years in banking. And but through all that time, I had always been involved with philanthropy, whether it was with different associations related to medical needs, or raising funds for research, or raising funds to help provide food. So it had always been a part of my soul to give back. And philanthropy isn't just financial. It's giving of your passion, your time, your resources. And so I had always done that. So when I got frustrated with corporate America, I thought, I could find my way through nonprofit. And so that's exactly what I did. I reached out and started my life with nonprofit, and I've been there ever since. And I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I found it extremely rewarding.
Well, I think you're a perfect addition to the Pima Foundation team. I know you've been with us for a little over a year now, right?
Just a year.
Just a year. Time flies, but you're just such a special person. So
thank you.
We are thankful to have you on the team for sure. But you mentioned philanthropy is not just about financials. It's more than that. And so I think there's a lot of times where community people think to help a nonprofit, we have to donate money, right? But it is more than just financials. Like you said, it's your time, it's your energy. Can you a little bit more elaborate on that topic so we can have other community members who may want to get involved but don't know how can they do so?
And that's a good question, because it could be that a business is looking to expand their workforce, or as we all know, especially in the technical trades, there are a lot of gaps. And so they may have opportunities to provide internships, for example, so that our Pima College students can serve as an intern in kind of a learning to earn, if you will, program, so that in the future they can then have a meaningful wage, and the business owner can say, I've got some key people here. I've got my workers. I can make this work. So there's a lot there. We find people that companies will also donate equipment. That's really important.
Yeah, I forget about that one.
Yeah, it's really important, especially like our Building and Technology Center right now. We're looking for equipment and maybe there's one that a company doesn't need anymore, or they want to advance to the next level. They can give us, at least the students can train on something that's relevant to their industry. So there's lots of ways that we can do that. And I just think that companies, many times, yes. Do they give financially? Yes, they do. And we can't do what we do without them. But it's not just the financial. It's also serving on our committees, serving on our boards. Every division has an advisory council. And so if they can serve and share with their knowledge so that we can help develop curriculum that's applicable to their business, that's really important for our students as they move forward for their career.
Yes, so there are definitely very many ways that the community and businesses alike can get involved with philanthropy, and specifically Pima Foundation and the college. And so what would you think is a really good success story and example of that?
A great example is the commitment that we receive from Arizona Complete Health. As you probably know, as many of us know, there is a dramatic shortage of healthcare professionals across the nation, not just in Tucson, Arizona. And so Arizona Complete Health, when we approach them, they recognize that we need to have a foundation to train future health professions. And so they gave us funding that we can use to establish curriculum for long-term care and behavioral care. That is something that Pima College didn't have. So, and we all know how important that is as we age, like me. They also provided scholarship funding for the students. And I think it's important to realize that 70% of our students at Pima Community College, they need financial assistance, or they are on a financial assistance. So they help support that by establishing a scholarship in order for us to provide the tuition, the funding that they need, the students need. And then thirdly, they set up an endowment that's there in perpetuity so that our future healthcare students have an opportunity to have their career funded and their tuition to help assist them.
And I think another good example too is Jim Click and the Ford Asset Program as well with the automotive students. That's been going on. That's on its second cohort now, and those students in the program essentially with a job at any of those
dealerships. Yes, exactly.
So that's another great example of that.
And the great part about that program is that the students they're in training, they take their classes, their courses, and then they go back into one of the dealerships. They practice what they've been learning, and then they go back to the classroom, and then they go back so it's a real hands-on training experience. And once they receive their certificate or their degree, then they move into as an employee of Jim Click. And he helped fund that so that all their tuition, all their fees, their books, everything is paid for.
And another great thing about that is if that individual is already working within your business, you're essentially already training them to do exactly what you prefer within those working
That's
guidelines.
Right.
So
That's right.
You're already building the perfect model employee. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great program, and one that we are very honored that Mr. Click has helped us establish and supports.
So what do you think is the motivation as to why people want to get involved? Like, we know yours, and me speaking on here and doing other episodes, we've kind of seen like mine. And so what do you think motivates people to get involved? Like, we obviously know the businesses want to kind of work with students and, fill that workforce gap. But what do you think motivates people beyond that?
I think that it's passion. And it's well known that across the country that the number one recipients of philanthropy is education. So I think that across the country, everybody understands the importance of education. In our community, even more so, we've got quite a transient community. So as people come in, they move, they graduate, they move on. We need to replace that workforce. And where does that start? It starts with their education. So it's what we can offer here at Pima Community College gives them the ground floor to begin their successful career. But I think a lot of it comes back to passion. We have donors that, they want to recognize a loved one. So they want to set up a memorial. One of the things we just did, and you'll probably be hearing that on the news too, is we just established a fund for the Jacob Didinger scholarship. Jacob was a graduate of our EMT program at Pima Community College, and unfortunately lost his life early on in his career. And so his family, and with help of supporters, we established an endowment in honor of Jacob. And we had our first recipient was awarded this semester. So those are and that was all done out of just passion. Some people I'm really passionate about drama or the arts or aviation. You'd be surprised the number of ex-military that want to support our aviation program, for example. Culinary. The second careers of many of our students are gravitating towards things like IT, cybersecurity, culinary. So it's giving people the opportunity to have that next chance. And I think that a lot of people in philanthropy support that. They want to give people a second chance. And if they can give a little, some of their funding to help support that, they're very happy to do that.
And education is just so important. And I think there's a lot of times, it's not always accessible to people to further their education or start their college career. And I think a lot of times people forget just how, I don't know if what's the word? How important, but it's more than just important. It just, as someone who's received a scholarship before, it's just so, I don't know if moving is the right word. I don't even know how to explain it, but sometimes, donors don't always see that end of the spectrum. And I know we do at the foundation try to elaborate, or not necessarily elaborate, but show how thankful the students are for receiving their scholarships and things like that. But I think sometimes they forget just how moving it actually is.
And what a difference it makes. And we do have a process. Our protocol is that we will send a letter out to the donor to notify them of the success of the student that they help support.
And I'm sure that's just touching to know, your passion and what you really wanted to do to help your community is really going the extra mile.
Absolutely.
And so you did mention earlier about how it is vital, especially in our community, for the foundation to do its work and so forth. And so why do you think it is so important, especially in Tucson? Could you elaborate a little bit more on that and why you think the foundation is so important to Tucson within the community college here across,
Well, as I said earlier, is that Pima Community College is our community. And the wonderful thing about our students is that they typically stay in our community. So they're the backbone of the growth of this community. And the foundation plays a significant role through our philanthropy efforts and through our awareness efforts. Marcy Euler, who's our CEO president, she has a wonderful way of communicating the value that the foundation brings to the college and to our community. And it's impactful. Mm-hmm. It's just and we do it with integrity, with transparency, and awareness.
Yeah, I mean, Marcy does speak so well.
She does.
I'm always like
I'm always
so
jealous.
transfixed by when she's speaking at events. I'm like, wow. But you're right. And so, what do you think are the long-term goals of the foundation, like philanthropy-wise? In your role, like, what do you think would be a long-term goal?
To make millions and millions and millions. I guess my long-term goal is to just continue to build on the awareness. When I came to work here, one of the things I said to Marcy, I said, I'd never realized what this community college had to offer. It is a gem in this community, and we need to get on the rooftops, and we need to share that with everyone in our community, that you have an opportunity here. Students coming out of high school or out of tech school, it's just, this is the next path that you have that's available to you, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that pathway, that there's no barriers in that pathway. So my long-term goal is just to continue to build that awareness, and again, to also continue to, obviously fundraise. We can't do this without the support, the generous support of this community. And so we want to continue to do that. One thing I might say too is that, some of the things I've been talking about are kind of restricted to certain areas, but even just giving to, I have $100, I can give it just to general. That's really meaningful, because you never know when something's going to come up.
No, you made a good point, because when I had my position here at Pima, I did money out of my paycheck. I forget what that's called. What is that called?
Recurring payments, recurring donations.
Yeah, but I just had it like $10.
Automatic.
Like, I know it's not a lot, but $10 to the food pantry is probably plenty to them. So I think sometimes people misunderstand, like, you don't have to do an exuberant amount of money to make a difference. It could just be, what did I do?
$20 a month.
Yeah.
It adds up.
Yeah, it does add up. And if 100 people did $20 a month, that's so much more in long-term amount that
Absolutely.
I don't think they see it always like that. So there is options where, maybe someone does want to give back. They can volunteer with us at our events or things like that, or do payroll deduction. That's what you wanted. My brain is working now. But yeah, just doing something as simple as that makes a huge difference, and it still gives the opportunity for someone who wants to give back an option to give back.
Well, and the wonderful thing is that so many of our staff, faculty, they do payroll deduction.
Yes, they do.
And so they're very supportive internally. And that's so meaningful, But I'm like you. I do the same thing. I don't even think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't even have to think about it.
And it adds up, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said it so many times, but the college has changed so much since I first went here many moons ago, and for the better. Obviously, it's always good to keep growing and keep building. We have a new chancellor who's been in his role for a few months, and we're excited to see his era and his legacy. But there have been so many new options for students to go to school, and I love that the narrative has changed. And so,
we have to.
Yeah.
We have to stay. We have to stay up to date, if you will, and in tune with what the needs are of the community, of the employers, and the needs of the students.
Yeah.
What are they looking for? What's important to them? What would challenge them and interest them to come to Pima Community College?
Yeah, and I think the college has heard and listened, and they, having all these different pathways. You don't necessarily have to do the 2-year transfer anymore if you don't want to.
No.
There's certificates, there's shorter programs, and so there's so many different options that vary to each individual, and I think that's awesome. I don't know another word to say, but awesome.
It is. And it used to be, when I was in school, it was like, well, if you go to a community college, then your next step is then you automatically have to go to a 4-year school. Not everybody's meant for that.
No.
And so the fact that we have the technical training that we do is significant to the community. Because now we can train the plumbers, the electricians, the aviation mechanics, and those are all fields of study that are very important to continuing to build our community.
Yes, and I think we're all on the right track to continue growing and building and, helping keep Tucson striving and thriving and keeping it here. That's what's also so special about the colleges, like when they work with businesses for their students and things like that, like it's keeping it here and our economy here is growing, which is what we want.
And it's important too, you ask a good question about, how do we maintain? And I think we maintain too because we're transparent and we're honest. These are our needs. If you can help us, that's great. But we also build the trust of our community and the trust of our donors. That's what's really important for me in my role, is to continue to build that trust and that relationship with these people who are so important to the strength of this college. So I can't stress enough that building that relationship doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It takes time, but it's extremely rewarding.
And it's important to take the time and build that relationship.
It is.
Like anything in life, don't rush it. So one last question.
Except for if you're running late to get to work.
Except for that, maybe, but be safe about it. But one last question for you, Diana.
Okay.
So what do you hope is the foundation's legacy? So after, you and I are both gone and we hope the foundation's still thriving, the community college is still thriving, what do you hope the foundation's legacy will be?
So I hope that with the foundation will be seen as one of strength and stability and commitment, that we have a loyalty and a commitment to Pima Community College, to our community and to our region. That's what I hope that people will reflect in their view of Pima Foundation. That the people here are working for the betterment of all involved.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thank you.
And, thank you to our donors, our community members, everyone who helps us out and gets involved with the foundation and the community college, because we couldn't do it without you. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
This is really nice to be able to share about what philanthropy is and how important it is.
Especially on today is National Philanthropy Day.
National Philanthropy Day.
It's perfect. You were meant to be here and share your wisdom.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Well, thank you for your time, and I'll see you at the office.
Sounds good.
So thank you, everyone, for tuning in for today's episode, and I will see you all next week. Thank you.